stepping up my game. I'm a groove school, yes I am. With groove I know I can. Read my master plan. I'm grooving, yes I am. I'm grooving. Oh, I'm grooving, yes I am. I'm grooving. I'm moving, yes I am. I'm moving. I'm moving, yes I am. I'm moving. I'm moving, yes I am. Groove Nation inspires me to bust loose and break free. I'm dancing to my dreams, bursting at the seams. I'm feeling groove-alicious. Groove knows who I am. 'Cause now is my time to have a groove state of mind. I'm grooving. Oh, I'm grooving. I'm grooving, yes I am. I'm grooving. Oh, I'm grooving. I'm grooving, yes I am. I'm grooving.
All right. And here we are again, Donna. I'm excited.
I'm grooving.
Yeah, I'm grooving too, especially when you consider the alternative of not grooving, just saying.
Right.
You know, we're going to talk about vitality and balance. This vitality thing, that's kind of a big one. And I want to kick this off with a quote. You would never think this would come from Leonardo da Vinci, but what he said was, life is pretty simple. You do some stuff. Most fails. Some works. You do more of what works. I mean, I was like, that's Da Vinci, man. I mean,
Yep.
Pretty fundamentally sound words in my mind, especially the part of most fails, some works.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? I'm not sure I totally agree, but there's a point in it.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I do agree. I think that well, especially for a personality type like Da Vinci, who is an inventor and a creative, he took more risks and therefore more things failed. If you take very few risks, you will have very few failures in life. You'll also have very few successes. So
yeah, I guess the part that I'm questioning is the concept that early on in one's career or journey, obviously, I think that applies even more. And there's a lot of the literature that I managed to gather here that would suggest that going outside your comfort zone, challenging yourself, etc., is the way to true vitality, true whatever. Though I do feel, as I'm getting a little further on in my own career, that I don't like doing the things that fail so much anymore. I will still do them periodically, but not with the same level of verve and enthusiasm that perhaps I did earlier. And I find a great deal of satisfaction out of doing the things that work.
well, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that that's always true, though. I don't think that that's something that's, that's new or that you've come to. I think you just know more things that work now than you did 20 years ago.
So maybe that's kind of what he's saying. You do more of what works, as
Yeah.
in once you figure it out, you spend more time doing the things that work. I mean, even down to client selection and the picking of people, man. I mean, I was so happy to respectfully say no to a very large opportunity because I knew that the level of aggravation and frustration of it was so significant that it just wasn't worth it.
I think that's a result of wisdom.
I'm not so sure how much of that I have, but
At
so
least enough to recognize that the aggravation would be there.
so check this out. You being a painter, I was grooving on finding all kinds of quotes, and Pablo Picasso said, "The purpose of art is washing the dust of daily life off of our souls."
I love that.
I thought you would. I was like, that is Donna Fox written all over it, right?
That is absolutely my purpose of art. So yeah, I
How
do
does
love
that
that.
work for you? What's it like, viscerally, kind of?
So for me, I made art a daily practice, and that doesn't necessarily mean that I create art every single day because sometimes I get busy and a couple days go by. But it is part of the way that I approach and view every day from now. And so I've since I've manifested my art every day in a calendar format, um, it affords me the opportunity to look at every day and find something beautiful about it or create something beautiful about that day.
Mhm.
So that's the way it works for me is that I review my day. I either come up with something that was beautiful or novel or interesting about that day, or I find beauty in ordinary, regular things that I see every day that are around me. So my
That
coffee mug
sounds.
makes it into my artwork a lot.
What does?
My coffee mug. I make a lot of art about my coffee mug because it's a part of my day. It's an enjoyable part of my day. I drink 1 cup every morning. It's usually coffee. Sometimes it's tea. Sometimes it's cacao or electrolytes. But 1 warm cup of beverage every day, and often on a very busy, boring work day that's routine and route, and there's nothing unusual. It's hard to find something beautiful in a day like that. So I default to my coffee cup. If I don't think of anything else after a certain amount of time, it's paint the coffee cup.
Well, you know what? Vince said the following: I am seeking, I am striving, I am in it with all my heart.
Mm, I love that.
I was like, I kind of went down this rabbit of like, let's find some cool quotes on the topic from some painters because I knew you would like those.
Yes, it's good, and it does appeal to me because I'm in that position in my life where I'm moving from being a Jack or Jill of all trades, which I have been my whole life, to deciding to master something.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm in it.
I think there's a tremendous vitality in that, and because you get stronger in the same thing. Like,
Mm,
uh, for example, for me, being a business leader in a specific niche that I now know very well
mhm,
makes it very easy for me to feel comfortable in my own skin. I don't have to be. There's a genuine vitality in getting up in the morning, greeting the day, and going, "All right, what we got? Let's do this thing." Because I'm not going off some weird tangent, going some down a rabbit hole or something where I don't know what I'm doing. So there, that mastery of self and purpose, I think it adds to the joy of daily living. The it's not a, oh man, what's going to happen today kind of feeling. It's a more of a, all right, let's take what we know and put it to use in a way that makes sense and in a
mm.
way that I can comfortably feel like I can contribute.
I love that.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that Nikola Tesla said was, the secret of life is to have no fear. It's the only way to function. I'm not sure I agree 100%, but I do think there's a lot of value in the secret to enjoying life is to somehow figure out how to manage your fear so that you can function.
I like that a lot better than Tesla's statement. Yes. Because obviously there are good fears. The fear of getting burnt stops us from putting our hand over the fire. I mean,
Mhm.
so fear has a very, very important role in our lives. So I don't agree with that, certainly the way Tesla phrased it. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah, I think not living in fear, but not denying its existence either. So
yeah,
I
it's
see
very
you,
interesting.
I see you fear, but I'm going to stay over here.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's very real and visceral. So
Yeah.
literally an hour and 10 minutes ago, give or take a minute, I got a text from my wife who was in the other room while I'm on the phone saying there's an ambulance outside our next door neighbors' houses. Now, our next door neighbors are respectively 95 and 92 years old. And until about a year and a half ago, they were doing really well. And then their systems, both of them, couple, started to break down and whatever.
Mm,
And I said, okay, well, go do what you got to do because we are there. We check in with them when something goes wrong. We're immediately going over there. And she came back and she said, "I'm sorry, I can't have lunch with you. I think I need to go over there." And apparently, our 95-year-old husband friend had fallen 3 times this morning, and that's why the ambulance was there. And his daughter, who was also there, my wife described her as visibly shaking beyond control.
mm,
Now, I can't imagine when my father passed away, I wasn't there. So I didn't see it. But that idea that you might see someone you love, bam, 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 on the floor 3 times in a short amount of time, and then the ambulance is there and then whatever, I'm telling you, man, that is some scary stuff right there. And it gets you.
yep.
And Emily Dickinson said, forever is composed of nows. I'm like, mm-hmm. And sometimes they ain't pretty. So what do you do to find some vitality in that moment? Not as easy. Friend of mine, Ankal Bhatia, she wrote, Anshal, I guess you pronounce it. She wrote this book because of being almost dead by following medical protocols and then deciding I'm not doing that anymore. And so one of the things that she said in here, which I found very valuable, was she calls them the 10 rules of your doctor is not good. And believe me, I'm not saying anything against the medical profession. They're very valuable, but there's some stuff in here that makes sense. She says, rule number 2, don't be reactive, be proactive. And I think this really applies to the whole concept of vitality. Proactive people get things done, while reactive people have little control and are usually governed by external factors. How do you go about your healthcare in general? Do you go to a doctor when you're sick? Do you get preventive checkups done regularly? Or are you just very casual and take it easy approach? Or worse, do you feel that if you don't know it, the problem does not exist, and hence you can avoid a doctor completely?
That's the ostrich method. I like that one.
Right? It says, you need to reflect and evaluate to understand if you have a casual approach to your health or your family's health. We need to consciously decide whether we want to spend time, money, and energy on our health or disease. The choice is ultimately yours. Either way, it's hard work. And this is the part where I think this is important to everybody. To prevent diseases, we need a sound mind and an able body, which is nurtured. It requires a conscious effort. And says, just like for our businesses, we have documented strategies. It is important we have a prevention strategy which addresses you as a whole. Like really suggesting that even in the area of health, vitality is not just the absence of disease or, oh, I'm taking whatever. You got to pay attention to your brain and your mind and how what are you allowing in there? What's getting to you?
Mm. Do we have a definition for vitality? I'm not sure I know exactly what that word means.
The state of being strong, active, and full of energy.
Strong, active, and full of energy. Okay.
And John Muir had this really interesting quote. He said, the clearest, which I think is like, okay, this is good. The clearest way into the universe is through a forest wilderness. I'm not sure I know what that means.
I don't know either. Clearest way to a universe is through a forest wilderness. Yeah, I don't know.
Einstein said, look deep into nature and you'll understand everything better.
Well, maybe it would help you understand that quote.
Right? So this dude, sometimes I got to bust him out, our brother Mahatma Gandhi. And by the way, you want to hear something super cool? So this was given to me by my wife many, many years ago, where she said, RG, this is what you embody. One of the many reasons I love you and admire you, your wife. And she gave me this.
Aww.
It was very, very sweet.
Aww.
And I know, right? In here, Mahatma Gandhi says, every good deed is its own advertisement. And he points out that outer peace is useless without inner peace. Goes on to say, if we are to make progress, we must not repeat history, but make new history. We must add to the inheritance left by our ancestors. That's very cool.
I like that.
Right? That to me seems like vitality. It seems like you're going to the next level in some way or another. And I think there's a lot to it. There's another book I picked up called Becoming Positively Awesome.
You don't need that book. You're already positively awesome.
Well, you know what? You know what I like about it is this was a book that was compiled by our good friend Michael Stevenson.
Oh, nice.
And in here, one chapter that struck me was a chapter written by Dr. Scott Butler. And he says, a behavior that you most likely use in your life is saying you want something different or better, and then you act as if you can create change using the same behavior that created your current self. Different results require different approaches. Once you decide what it is you want in your life, the next step is being willing to get it and be committed. I want to share that you may very well get frustrated, tired, or angry at creating what you want because of the resistance that you come up against. Resistance creates knowledge, strength, and endurance. Many of life's critical lessons come from resistance. Yep. Then he says, your prison is your creation. Your life is your total and complete creation. You can keep yourself in a life that you aren't happy with, or you can put yourself in a life that you get what you want. The greatest challenges you encounter will come from you. The greatest satisfaction and successes you experience will also come from you. Which are you going to choose? Yeah. Simple, straightforward, and real. I mean, it is us, right? You're just saying. I mean, sometimes I wish I could go, no, it's you over there or you over there. I don't like you over there. I don't like either of yous. But I found it doesn't really serve me all that much.
Yeah, I agree. It seems to be that there is a link to vitality and purpose. That having some, and I don't mean, and I never mean, by the way, a big life purpose. Like, this is my purpose in life. I actually don't believe that we are gifted with one thing that we're supposed to do. I think that we are supposed to do whatever it is that we decide that we want to do. And that's our calling. And it's just what you're interested in and what you can do. But, and for lots of people, that's work at a job they don't love, watch some TV, maybe raise some kids, have a relatively happy life. And that's okay. And then other people have this like strong will or drive to do something or produce something, or and those are the people that I associate with the word vitality, is that there's a life to them because they have a goal outside of them, or a longer term goal.
This book, Great by Choice. It was the third book in the series by Jim Collins. The first one was Built to Last. The second one was Good to Great. And this is the third one.
I didn't read
And
this
in
one.
this one, sorry?
I have not read this one.
It's great.
Yeah.
One of the things that he talks about in this one is the concept of the 10Xers.
Mm-hmm.
The 10Xers are the leaders that build 10X companies. And he says some very interesting things about them. And I thought it would be really cool to share.
Yeah.
He says, let's first look at what we did find out about 10Xers relative to their less successful comparisons. They're not more creative. They're not more visionary. They're not more charismatic. They're not more ambitious. They're not more blessed by luck. They're not more risk-seeking. They're not more heroic. They're not more prone to make big, bold moves. To be clear, we're not saying that 10Xers lacked creative intensity, ferocious ambition, or the courage to bet big. They displayed all of these traits, but so did their less successful comparisons. Mm-hmm. So then, how did they distinguish themselves? On the one hand, 10Xers understand that they face continuous uncertainty and that they cannot control and cannot accurately predict significant aspects of the world around them. On the other hand, 10Xers reject the idea that forces outside their control or chance events will determine their results. They accept full responsibility for their own fate. Mm. He goes on to say, the great task, rarely achieved, is to blend creative intensity with relentless discipline so as to amplify the creativity rather than destroy it. When you marry operating excellence with innovation, you multiply the value of your creativity. And that's what 10Xers do.
Nice. I can definitely see that, and also the difficulty with it and why it's so rarely achieved. Because they're creativity and discipline appear to be at odds.
Yeah.
They really do appear to be at odds. And I think there's a mysticism that has developed around the idea of creativity. People think that it is something that has bestowed upon you. You either are a creative person or you are not. And I look at creativity as a bit more like mathematics. You either learn it or you don't.
I think that's so true. So my brother's brother-in-law is a sports writer, and he's very, very well known as being incredibly irreverent. And so he writes for Powder Magazine, Ski Magazine, Bike Magazine, whatever. And he finally came out with his book after urging from us as family for decades now. And I happened to be in Telluride, Colorado, 3 days ago for the reading of his book, the first reading ever. And this is a genius raconteur. I mean, this is a guy who can tell stories until the cows come home. And he did a very, very good job. But speaking in public is not his thing. And so you could see him fidgeting with the pages and doing this thing over here and trying to make a note and getting all nervous and whatever, because it takes that discipline that you just mentioned. You can be as creative as you want, but if you want to really, really get something out of that creativity, the discipline to write like that every day, the discipline to paint, in your case, to create art every day is real.
Yeah.
And it ain't going away.
Hmm.
I know. I went to Napoleon Hill Cliff Notes and then Napoleon Hill Old School. So we'll start with Cliff Notes. And Napoleon says, Learn to use the winds of adversity to sail your ship of life. Close the door of your mind on all failure. If you accept defeat as an inspiration to try again with renewed confidence and determination, attaining success will only be a matter of time. That seems
100%
like that
agree with that. Yeah.
in line with what they're saying about the 10Xers,
Mhm.
right? So I dug deeper and I went to the original unabridged edition. I only have like 4 different versions of this, right? So I went to the original unabridged. And I wanted to bring up, because it has direct relevance to what we were just talking about, the 6 basic fears and what Napoleon says about these. He says, there are 6 basic fears with some combination of which every human suffers at one time or another. Most people are fortunate if they do not suffer from the entire 6. Named in the order of their most common appearance, they are the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love of someone, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. All other fears are of minor importance. They can be grouped under these 6 headings. That's interesting. Poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love or someone, old age, and death.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then he goes
Those
on
are the big ones.
right? That's the most common ones. He says, man can create nothing which he does not first conceive in the form of an impulse of thought. Following this statement comes another of still greater importance, namely, and the rest of it's all caps. Man's thought impulses begin immediately to translate themselves into their physical equivalent, whether those thoughts are voluntary or involuntary. Thought impulses, which are picked up through the ether by mere chance, thoughts which have been released by other minds, may determine one's financial, business, professional, or social destiny just as surely as do the thought impulses which one creates by intent and design. This is deep stuff, man. Getting this, by the way, this is at the end of Think and Grow Rich. This is where you're getting into, all right, the transmutation of thought. What do I do and how big is it? And I think it plays right into both vitality and balance. How do we create that vitality on a daily basis and somehow remain steady in the process, which, as opposed to, okay, where's my 3rd cup of coffee for the day?
Right.
Can somebody give me a Red Bull or a Monster or something to, no, I'm sorry. And as Einstein also says, life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving.
Yeah, I like that. Because really we're talking about action. You don't come into balance by inaction, unless that inaction is maybe meditation, which is also action. So maybe rest, which is also action.
Yeah, Carl Jung says the word happiness would lose its meaning if it wasn't balanced by sadness.
Yes.
I remember hearing the Buddhist story about how the concept being that the people who suffer the most have the greatest capacity for the greatest happiness. And yet it doesn't happen by accident. And I remember listening to some scholar say something like, there are some things that are almost impossible to define and get any kind of real reaction to them, such as explain sugar to somebody. Unless they try sugar, it's almost impossible for somebody to understand what
Even the
sweet.
concept of sweet. Yeah.
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 And so when you're talking to someone who's never suffered or has suffered very little, for them to understand a deep burden or a deep thing inside, I don't think is realistic. Let's take it a little step further. How many privileged people do you know that have become professional athletes? as in good enough to put in the ridiculous amount of discipline, the insane amount of training, the pain that they have to go through to get angry enough to make it?
I don't know. And, sports isn't my thing. Maybe there are people like the Mannings. I don't know if Eli and Peyton Manning grew up privileged because Archie was a famous football player. Maybe.
Yeah.
But I think that they're probably the exception to the rule.
Yeah, you look into the greats, and for the most part, you see that at some point there was something that drove them enough to want to get back at it, and that still exists. I mean, here we got, I know this is like a ridiculous comparison per se, but you got up and coming online influencer Jake Paul, right? Who decides I'm going to be a professional boxer, starts training like crazy. And so now, to make a big bunch of money, Mike Tyson is going to fight the dude out of retirement. Now, this guy, Jake Paul, is 27 years old. Mike Tyson is 58 years old, more than double his age. And not a single pundit is giving Jake Paul a chance.
I'm not surprised.
Like, okay, man, if that like, A, it's weird, and B, okay, these guys are going to make a bunch of money, and it's entertainment, and you know what? Most of sports is entertainment. I get it. But the idea that nobody is giving a dude less than half his age a chance to win, I find very interesting. No,
I do too. Even in a sporting event, to value experience over vitality, if you will, over youth is
well. Let's to the point that we were making. The experience of a dude who was so angry that he beat the bejesus out of anybody, knocking them out in the first round, and they didn't even have a chance. So I'm just saying.
Right. It's not just anyone's experience.
Yeah. I think a regular professional boxer at 58 might not be in the same position or hold that same aura of craziness that Mike Tyson has.
Or focus or tenacity. Probably craziness, but
all of the above. We can go with all of the above. And I wouldn't say that that's balance. The dude has had a heck of a very unique and different life, but that concept of what do they draw on? I don't know.
I really have problems with the concept of balance, actually. I'm all good with vitality. Balance sets off all sorts of self-arguments. Because if you believe in balance, then it's equal on both sides, which means there's equal good and equal bad, or neither good nor bad, depending on how you look at it. And I really have trouble with that because you know what? I find the world to be a pretty good place. And my world doesn't have equal amounts of negative to positive. My world is overwhelmingly positive. Now, I'm not saying that I haven't had my share of all the things that people have your share of. It's just when I view the world, I see a positive place of beauty and love and light. And it pains me to think that the balance to that exists.
Well, don't you think that part of that, though, Donna, is that you've created that for yourself?
And if I could create for the world, then I would create a world where balance did not exist in that way. If I could create bigger, balance would not be it.
Yeah, I'm not a big believer in balance either. They talk about entrepreneurs, I've got it so easy. I only work half time, 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And you hear that a lot. And while that may not be entirely true, I am where I am because I work a hell of a lot harder than most people.
Yeah.
A hell of a lot harder. Not a little bit harder. A hell of a lot for a very long period of time. And then you get to where you are. You're like, okay, we have some things that others don't have because we have done what others were not willing to do for a very long period of time.
Yes.
By the way, words of Jim Rohn. Right. Do today what others won't do so you can have tomorrow what they will never have. And he says, you can change all things for the better when you change yourself for the better.
I believe that 100%.
You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. I love that guy, Jim. He's deep. So
Yeah.
I have a friend who last year, he's been quite good at fencing for a very long time. Last year, my buddy Jamie, right here, feature right there,
Nice.
became the #1 fencer on the United States national team over 60.
Okay.
So the
Love it.
dude is not only a ridiculous athlete, but he's also ridiculously wise, and he's been in business forever. And that's how we get to know each other in a peer-to-peer mastermind CEO group. And so I wanted to share a little bit about what he says about on guard and on point, mastering the duel between life and work. He says, Olympians prepare a lifetime for their moment of a lifetime. That's deep, right? They reach the Olympic Games because of their commitment to how they start each day and what they spend that day doing. As with all activities that require concentration, fencing is a particularly mental game. It doesn't depend on weight, class, or age. It doesn't matter if you're a child, a young adult with parents in the stands, or a 50-something with your own children in those same stands. Everything is about the moment. The internal mindset must be the same for every competitor who wants to win. They don't have their mental game together, they won't have a chance at winning. Says, in fencing and in life, people are going to surprise you and catch you off guard. As a fencer, your opponent is always trying to trap you in that one crucial moment while you're working away at doing the same to them. Creating a proper mindset ahead of time allows fencers to adjust quickly to unplanned events or situations. What separates excellent fencers from the rest is having a plan. What helps them move to the next round is being able to adjust to the unexpected. This is cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It says, the mindset isn't the exclusive domain of fencers. It's all around us when people engage in their craft. For example, in business, it is often the entrepreneur who possesses an uncanny ability to shift gears quickly, especially when they recognize that their plan isn't working. That doesn't mean abandoning the plan. It means going back to the foundation, to their personal why, how, what. Ultimately, there are only 3 things we can control every day: our minds, the right use of our energy, and our time. When we control the state of our mind and what we focus on, we control our energy. In the same way that athletes warm up their bodies before they practice or compete, we need to warm up our mind at the start of each day, knowing that this will enable us to determine what we focus on, control how we use our energy, and how we optimize our time. #1 in the country, just saying.
Nice.
It is nice. And I think that we've talked so much about this, the discipline, the little thing, the doing art every day, even if it's a coffee cup or whatever it may be, to keep, because it's so real. And finding that balance, we're not like particularly in favor of it, either of us, I know. But Aristotle did say something interesting. He said, it is better to rise from life as from a banquet, neither thirsty nor drunken.
Mm.
Isn't that good? I was like, that is good. Okay.
And I do think I like the idea of life balance or life moderation, if you will. Making sure maybe that really is just another kind of discipline. The discipline to ensure that you rest and recharge and refuel and all the other things that are in balance to the go-getter, work hard mentality. I don't have any objections to that kind of balance. I think it's the balance of good and evil that I object to.
Gautama Buddha says, middle way is a path of moderation between the extremes of sensual indulgence and self-mortification. I love this stuff. So my main man, Bobby Glazer, wrote this book called Elevate. He sent it to me because this is where he references me as helping him find his why, which was very cool. But there's some really good stuff in here, and we've tapped into it once or twice before. He says, talking about chapter 5, it's called Build Your Emotional Capacity. And I think that's a really big one in terms of both vitality and balance, building your emotional capacity. Adam Grant, he starts out with a quote: "No one succeeds alone, gains freedom alone, or finds joy alone." Interesting. Not sure I totally agree with that, but he says your level of emotional capacity is deeply connected with how you manage the little voice in your head, interact with others, and the quality of your relationships. That I do agree with. When you see two people of seemingly equal intellectual and physical capacity achieving very different outcomes, it is quite likely due to an imbalance in emotional capacity. None of us exist in a vacuum. We live in a world in which our actions, interactions, and experiences are interwoven into the lives and actions of others. The quality of our relationships and the energy gained or consumed by these relationships is extremely powerful. For most of us, it is the missing piece in our quest to build capacity, and it is often the most difficult because it extends beyond the control of our four walls. I think that's legit. He goes on to say, he quotes, there's an anonymous quote, and then I'm going to get back to a great quote. This anonymous quote says, "Nothing can stop the man with the right mental attitude from achieving his goal. Nothing on earth can help the man with the wrong mental attitude." And I had a chance to spend some time in a couple of occasions, but the one that I remember the most was in Queenstown, New Zealand, with billionaire Warren Rustand, who made $1 billion on charitable organizations, helping charitable organizations really run themselves. 7 kids, 5 of them CEOs, crazy dude. Made a deal with his wife. He said to her right at the beginning, "I'm only doing this once, right?" "Yes." So that was it.
I love that.
Right? He says, "One of my mentors, Warren Rustand, great guy, really love that guy, loves to share a story of 2 people. The first person throws back the covers, jumps out of bed and says, 'Good morning, Lord.' The other person peeks out from under the covers and says, 'Good Lord, it's morning.'" So good, right? "I have yet to meet a high achiever or a world-class performer who has a negative attitude or believe the worst is going to happen. Having a positive attitude doesn't mean everything will work out how you want it to, but it enables you to have the mindset required for success and to get through the inevitable and physical adversities that will arise along the way."
Yep, I agree. It also doesn't mean that you have a positive attitude every day. You know, you can still wake up, you still have rough days, you can still be challenged, you can still have times of depression and upset. You just got to get out of them.
Yeah. Bobby goes on to say, "Think about all the people in your life who assume the worst in everything and everyone. Are they high achievers? Are they happy? Do they positively impact others? Or do they love playing the role of the victim and strive to bring those around them down to their level of capacity?" Ouch.
Yep.
Yes. I know a lot of those. Maybe
Me
not a
too.
lot, but definitely a few. And in total transparency, even if they are very close to me, I don't like spending time with them.
Mm-hmm. I don't like spending time with me when I'm in those moods.
I think that's a very, very accurate statement. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm not that fun in that moment. Says your attitude in life is also strongly correlated with how much you focus on yourself relative to other people. For instance, it is difficult to be angry or fearful while you're grateful. This is because anger and fear are self-focused, whereas gratitude is about focusing beyond yourself. A big part of having a positive attitude revolves around living in the present, something most people find increasingly difficult to do. Rather, they often find themselves reflecting on what might have been or having anxiety about what comes next. As one popular saying goes, if you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you're at peace, you're living in the present.
That is very true. That is
Right?
100% true in my experience. Yes.
What a great quote about balance. That
Mhm.
really is about balance. I love that. If you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present.
I even find that, like, thinking about, I mean, it's no secret that at the moment Groove is going through some rough times. And as I talk to my partners, I can hear that in their language. It's either, gosh, I'm so, like, they beat themselves up over mistakes that we've made, which I'm never a fan of. Um, so I'll hear that, and it's associated with feelings of depression. Oh, we did this wrong or that wrong or this wrong. Or what are we going to do about this? And how am I going to do that? And those are fear, worry, anxious, the anxiety. And those are future things. So yeah, I think that that's a very true statement.
It's kind of like life is a balance of holding on and letting go.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
Hold
my
on to
friend,
the lessons from the past, but not the emotions. Keep the lessons.
yeah, right. Well, Ralph Waldo Emerson said, for every minute you remain angry, you give up 60 seconds of peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
I love pulling all these quotes. It's just so fun to internalize, at least for a moment, something that can shift a perspective, that can help us a little bit, maybe either increase our vitality and get us back to a place of at least a little more balance. Maybe not balanced, but I'm getting a little better about it. But I actually, if I'm fully transparent, used to dislike the word entirely. I was like, balance is, yeah, it's just BS. I don't get it.
I feel that way about the word passion too, by the way. So I don't like the concept of balance because I don't like the idea that there's equal good and bad. That's my issue with balance. And
Well, passion, you know what? You can pass I on.
I like that.
All right, my friend, let's wrap this thing up. Go back out there and see what we can do to create some vitality for ourselves and others.
Absolutely.
Remind ourselves that you got to fill your own cup before you can fill the cups of others, and both are totally worthy. Any final words, my friend?
Thanks for filling my cup this week, Ridgely. It's been a joy and pleasure, as it always is.
I appreciate you. Lots of love your way, and to everybody who happens to catch this episode of Groove Growth. We appreciate you and always will. Take us out of here, John. Take us out.
All right.